All right, guys, welcome back to the Raised Hunting Podcast. I'm David Holder. I'm your host. I'm here with my two turds, and I'll apologize right away for what they might say in the next 45 minutes to an hour or whatever. Best way to cover it is just to say sorry. We got a cool topic because we know you guys are looking for this because it's a follow-up to the last time we did this, and that was some of our worst hunting adventures. And Warren kind of left everyone hanging on his. He has a heck of a story. I was part of it, but I wasn't on the actual hunt. So anyhow, long story short is we'll probably recap that and finish up that story, and then I got a couple others. The problem is when you've hunted as many years as I have, you got a lot of good, but you got some really, really bad ones too. So with that being said, want to thank you guys for all the reviews that you guys have put out, and ask that you guys continue to do that because
those really help.
Yeah, it helps with our ranking and puts us up on the podcast
rank,
podcast map so that people know where we are and what we're doing, and hopefully we'll pick up a few more people and more listeners, and
especially YouTube. If you guys are on YouTube and you're watching this, like and subscribe, because if we can make any little bit of money on the views from YouTube, we put it right back into the podcast. So any of our cool things that we want to get,
as they can see, we're making a lot.
Yeah, we need more help. Maybe if we make enough, we could fly one of you guys here.
There you go. That'd be all right. I'd like to do that sometime. Fly a guest out,
that'd be fun.
Hang out with us.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Can you guys hear me okay? I feel like it's not very loud.
That's good. We purposely keep you lower because you talk so
whatever.
loud.
All right. So, Warren, you got some shout outs you want to do today?
I do. So we're gonna do Apple today. Because you guys have left so many on there recently. So big thanks to you guys.
And
JJR 2650.
We didn't do the last one.
Oh, you guys are not very good hosts. Unappreciative. I appreciate you guys. Clearly they don't. JJR 2650. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for checking everything out. Glad that you found the podcast. Will Hendricks 86. He says, best. Hey, guys, done a review on my personal phone, so I'll do one on my work phone as well. You the man. The very best podcast to listen to and watch. Congrats, Easton, on your buck. A little update for you. Mine is still walking around. No luck for me. Thanks for all you guys do. Fun fact, I guess he's also related to Jimi Hendrix, so he shreds.
Really?
No, I just made that part up. But he might be.
Is his last name Hendrix?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it could be. Wise guys. Always entertaining, guys. Excellent discussion and insights. Thanks for taking on this topic. It was a frustrating season. Bow hunting and late season extremely difficult. Had some minor success for our gun season, but weather and lack of it early, and then extremes later made for a lot of long sits. Jim Bello. XX Maverick X 2010 says, great show. Listen to these guys on my way to work. Great way to start the day. They give real advice and helpful tips. Appreciate you, XX Maverick X 2010.
What's up with all the X's?
I don't know. Maybe he's explicit, like exhibit. J Rose FSKY. Love the podcast. Listen to it instead of music now.
Nice.
Suck on that, Jimi Hendrix. Just listen to the Put Your Target Buck Where You Want Them episode. So excited to try and make a rub tree with your style. I've always hunted scrapes, I've found. But how do you know which ones to hunt if you're in an area with an abundance of scrapes and rubs? Public land, PA hunter. That's
just to answer that quickly, we have lots of videos like on YouTube. You can go, or even our website, if you want to learn about scrapes, rubs, things like that. You can go on there. You can watch a video on it. When we're talking about rubs, we're not talking about finding a rub that's out there and using it. We're talking about putting a rub in the ground.
Rub where you want it.
Yep. So
which I think he
there's
understands.
There's a big difference, but
I think he's asking
how do you choose?
Why, which makes sense. What's going to make him hit ours?
Oh.
So.
Well, the scents and the tree.
The scents, and I think the fact
tree
that
is separated.
If you kind of put it in a little bit of an open area, and then one of them starts hitting it, two of them starts hitting it, then they just all congregate.
Well,
there.
The clearest way to clear that up is we're not putting in just a rub. We're trying to put in a signpost rub. And signpost rubs are ones that deer come back to, not like when you walk through and you see those small trees, 6 or 7 of them all hitting in the same direction. You're probably not going to see a buck come back to those. That was just him going as he was frustrated or walking along.
Yep. Clemson Whitetail. Holy cow, this was an awesome podcast. Never seen, heard, or even been in the same state as an elk. So to hear these stories makes me feel like a kid just hanging on the edge of my seat. Definitely needs a part 2. Well, we've got something good for you. Part 2.
All right. I'm reading 2 of them because they're both short. Actually, I'm just going to read the one. That means you guys need to send more in because I'm down to like 4. So
That was Easton chastising you guys to send in more stories.
yeah, you guys have slowed down. I know a lot of you guys had a successful season, even if it wasn't successful. This one is from our main squeeze, Michael Hawk. He says, after countless straight sits and running out of time, gun season started here last Monday. This was submitted in December, so reference on time. With trail camera data showing all the bucks.
Nervous about the DNR being here last week. I told everybody, I said, we're going to be all over social. Just because there's trolls, and they're going to be like, oh, DNR's at Ray's Hunting's office. What'd they do?
What?
What are you talking about?
Because people twist anything. And
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure, though, if they saw any picture of us with 2 podcast things on there.
I know. I'm saying that they're going to see the vehicles outside of the Ray's
That
Hunting
would be
building.
more understandable.
Yeah, and they'd be like, DNR's looking into Ray's
Ray's
Hunting.
Hunting. Oh, yeah. Meanwhile, podcast. Anyways, with trail camera data showing all the bucks went nocturnal in my areas due to pressure, I had to make a decision and take the rifle out a few days with the huge cold front moving through and the next cycle of does coming into heat. I knew I could catch one of the hit listers slipping up and making a big mistake. The big 7 did just that. Dog and a doe, I finally connected. I wish it was with my bow, but I'll take it. Just wanted to share a success with Easton, David, and Warren. Good work, my man. If it makes you feel any better, I did very similar thing this year. I've never killed anything with a gun as far as a big game animal, and I said, you know what? Maybe it's time. And a deer called Chains took the blow on that one. So I'll take it.
I think it's we've done it to ourselves, I guess. I mean, why do so many people think that it's like a downgrade to shoot one with a gun? Because I killed a lot of deer with a gun, but then once I made that transition to a bow, that's kind of all I did. And I think it was more of a, not necessarily whether it's easier, it was just more fun. There was more elements to it that, like, I love the pregame. I love the, like, trying to figure out food plots or figure out how to get closer or hang your stands. And you got to do a lot more, I think, than you do with a gun. You don't have to get as close. And the other thing is, I think, especially with elk or turkeys, things that answer you is when you're hunting with a bow, you get to hear things, see things, smell things that you don't get to do with a rifle because you shoot them before they get there. So
I don't know if it's a downgrade, but I think it's definitely easier.
For sure.
Because I think it's more with a gun. If you have them within 150 yards, I think the probability, or even, I guess it depends on who the person is. I know for us amateur gun hunters, like 150 yards, I feel like pretty much like this is in the bag.
Yeah, that's like having them break the 20-yard barrier with your bow.
And so the element of the getting a shot part is out, and it's just making the shot. Where with your bow, I think it even at 20,
you got to get the full draw.
You still got to get a full draw, and you still need to make that shot, and you got to make that shot perfect. There's still so many elements to it. It's a lot easier to get to full draw, and you hit your binos, or your glasses fog up, or something else happens that you can't execute on, and then you miss that little tiny window. So I think there's just way more adrenaline to it. However, the thing I've really liked about muzzleloaders is I haven't shot anything else other than turkeys, but sometimes with a gun it is really nice to not have to deal with all of the BS of a bow.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it's
just
so
to be able to
simple.
go, yeah, like when the very first one I ever killed, when me, Nick, and Eli were chasing them forever, and it was super, super cold, but we could just go sit next to a tree. And sitting next to a tree because we needed to adjust and didn't have to worry about putting in a blind or brushing anything and doing all this other stuff. We could just go sit down with the sticks.
Yep.
And we were fine.
Yep.
And that was kind of enjoyable. I mean, it was enjoyable to me to like have it a little bit less stressful on it.
For
and
sure.
like KB was fun. I mean, being able to go sit in the blind too, because shooting with a bow that would have been absolutely miserable. It was
Oh,
so
I don't know.
cold.
Yeah. I was sitting there thinking, I bet you the limbs are going to crack on a sucker if you start drawing in this temperature.
That one was weird. That I don't get cold very often, but that one, both East and I, just on the way to the blind and the way to the truck, which was not that far, was like, it hurt. It physically hurt.
It was very painful, which is an odd walk. I will say just quickly on the gun thing, I noticed that it was a totally different adrenaline rush for me because, and the reason I say that is because when I've got my heart pumping and everything, I'm going nuts or whatever internally with my bow, it's taken me a long time to be able to control that or suppress it to where it's released after a shot. With the muzzleloader last month, when I realized I was going to shoot, or like this is a shooter, my heart starts pumping, like I'm getting very excited, but never did I ever get to the point where my brain like couldn't handle it whatsoever. And even to the point where I'd never done it, I was in a new position, out of my comfort zone. I mean, I was confident with a gun, but I like got on the scope, and after that, it was just an adrenaline rush. It wasn't anything that was like that I had to control. It was just like, oh, this is exciting, and made the shot. Like it was no big deal. Versus when I go with my bow, it's like I have to mentally prepare myself to suppress this emotion to make a shot and then let the emotion come out. So I found that very interesting.
I think that though could be a product of shooting so much stuff with a bow.
It could be that you're prepared for it.
Yeah, that you're so much more accustomed to knowing it's going to be 2-3 levels more difficult that when that moment happens, it's like, oh, okay,
you're prepared for it. You're ready for it.
Yep.
Yeah, that could be true.
I can't remember when the last podcast we did. Have we talked about my aoudad at all? I don't think we did. You know that I went, but and the reason I say that is because just what you're talking about, I haven't had this happen in years, and I don't know, maybe because it was a new species, maybe it was because it took that long. But when we saw those aoudad come over the hill, not so much on the spot and stalk that I ended up killing mine. I didn't have time. You couldn't get really excited because you were doing something. You're trying to get a shot. But we were sitting in a blind at first, and they came over the hill, and they were like half a mile away. But they were walking toward us, and I was like, all right. Next thing I know, I look down, and my tip of my arrow is like bouncing all over the place. I was like, you better freaking get this under control. You're never going to be able to shoot. And it got worse. I mean, it got to the point where I was like, I would not be able to shoot if they walked in here right now. Well, it took them over 2 hours to get to us. So my adrenaline level went way up, and then it crashed. It was like, well, they're not coming. You know, they're not even going to do this. And I was like, well, just matter of fact. Then I would see them again, and I'm like, uh-oh, here they come. And it would go spike again. It was kind of a crazy, I mean, after 40 years? Yeah, I think this year, 41 years now of archery hunting. It was pretty cool to still get that feeling like that, you know, so.
If you lose it, there's something to be concerned about.
Yeah. All right, Warren, you going to fill these guys in on what this most miserable hunt was?
Yeah. So, well, just for a little refresher for everybody that may not have heard the last episode. So what we were talking about is we had an elk hunt several years ago where we had a lease of a piece of property that bordered public, and it was really, there wasn't really that much to be hunting on the private.
We were pretty much paying for the access to get to the public.
Right.
Is what we were doing.
Yep. And so I told everybody that we hiked a long ways thinking that there wasn't going to be many other people there, and then ran into like 5 guys on a 1 mile by 1 mile section of an outfitter that was in there. And then he was, telling us that he leased it and walking up on us and everything. It was just a whole mess. But
for anybody that knows,
we got there.
I'd correct me if I'm wrong on Montana specifically, but in a lot of western states, outfitters can be leasing a certain place, including public ground, typically national forest, and they're leasing that only for the outfitting rights as far as they can outfit there, but public people, Warren or somebody else that is in that area, can still come up there and hunt. It's not like they get all access to that land. So that, for anybody that doesn't understand Western hunting, it's a little different than leases like in the Midwest and stuff like that. But anyways.
So anybody else can be there. The outfitters though it's just supposed to be their territory.
Yep.
So, anyways, we'd been hunting for I don't know how long. And basically our morning ritual is we'd go up on this mountain and we'd glass all over, and because all these elk would go down into like the valleys and fields and feed, and then they would come back up, which this is where a lot of you probably heard the story I've talked about of him sitting till noon and just then all of a sudden just saying, we need to sit longer, we need to sit longer.
That's
and
in
I
the
was ready to
same
go
place?
get a snack. Yeah.
Oh, see, I thought that's where you guys used to guide.
No.
Okay.
And then at noon, all of a sudden, here comes 100 elk. And it's like, how the frick do you know that? Anyways, so we've been sitting on this same peak for like days now. So actually what happened is all the elk were on us. Like 150, 200 elk were all on us. And the first morning, the ranchers come in and with four-wheelers and everything, and they move cattle, and they move about 200 elk out. And elk are not like deer, where they, like you could run them out and they're going to come back, a day or 2 days later. Like they're messed up for, well, in this case, it was the whole season.
Oh, yeah.
But a significant period of time. So all of these elk had moved about a mile, really only about a mile and a half or so as a crow flies.
What happens if you bust them really bad?
These guys, I mean, so to understand what we're talking about, this was like 20 guys. I mean, lots of
pushing
four-wheelers,
cattle and
horses,
stuff.
and they're looking for cows. They're going in every crevice. And then when they bumped them, some of the guys did not realize that we were there hunting. And so we watch them chasing them. They're chasing the elk with their four-wheeler.
Why?
Just for fun.
That's fun?
Yeah, and so, like, I mean, these elk are, head is up. They are just hauling.
Yeah.
So they ran them a long, long ways.
Oh. So that's different than, like, if you
just bumped an elk.
Someone wins you or something, you're not.
Dad knows better than I do. I'd tell you it's still quite a bit more detrimental if you bust an elk than if you bust deer.
Well, I get that.
As
But
far
I
as,
was just
like-
curious, like, you do bust some elk, even if it was, like, a small portion of the herd or something. You think
Yeah,
they
but
just
it's
run back
not-
to the herd, or they running over the hill or to the
they're-
next hill?
They're going a long ways. And it's not
Unless
necessarily
they're-
running.
unless
They'll
they're-
just walk.
Go, yeah.
Where we went in New Mexico. Those ones are a little different.
Well, that one, we busted mine, and he just walked to the other side of the volcano.
yeah. I think those ones are a little
Unpressured.
a little groomed.
Yeah.
So anyways, all these elk are out of there, and then I don't even know how old I was at that time. I don't know, like
22, 23.
yeah, something
You
like
say
that.
something like that?
Really,
If I had to guess.
still really, really ambitious on killing elk though, and so now we've been sitting up there for
A lot of days.
several days, and every morning, like we'd always get a few elk to mess with, and there'd be 100 some over there every single day. And I can't remember why we waited so long, unless it was the weather. I think the weather had been bad, and then there was a small break in it, which was when I
And then I think, too, we were checking some of the other we would go to hunt some of the other drainage, just thought, well, we'll find some other elk in here. If those are over there, there'll be more, because there's more than 100 elk on the national forest there. Not uncommon to be 300 or 400 elk in there.
right, yeah, and this is big country.
Big country.
So, but every morning, anyways, we're seeing 100 and some elk in there in the same basin and the same thing every day. And obviously, so I'm looking at Onyx, and they're on public. So, and they're only like a mile and a half or so from us. But the property, it's like a U. So it's like national forest comes up, and then it makes like a horseshoe. And that was all private in the middle that we didn't have permission on, so we couldn't just walk across
They
that.
couldn't cut across.
And to get to it was like six
There's a
miles or
big loop.
yeah,
kind of.
and to be able to, like, we'd measured it on Onyx, it was like 6 miles or 6.5 or something to get to it. And so finally, after several days, Warren was pretty well, like, I was like, why are we not just going over there? They're there every freaking day. And I think Dad had a lot better understanding of that we did not have the stuff, like, because we were staying in a cabin, because we had camera guys and all the equipment and everything, and you were going to have to, there was no going over there for the day. You know, like,
stay.
yeah, you had to go over there and stay. And he was like, you can go over there if you want, but I'm not going over there. And so then I think what we were doing was waiting for a break in the weather. And I was like you when you're trying to kill a booner. I was very, very antsy. And so and I'm checking the weather every day. And then so finally there was a break, right? Like there was supposed to be a break where it was going to be a little bit better for like a 3-4 day period.
No. It was like 24 hours, and I tried to tell him.
I remember in the
for us to
beginning
get
when I
there,
heard the story the first time,
Yeah,
it was a short window.
It was a very short window, and that's one of the reasons. And so going back to what you're talking about gear-wise, we did have a good tent, but you guys did not have the proper packs. You did not have the proper other gear that goes with the tent to be able to go back and stay and I'm not saying that you can't prepare for all kinds of emergencies, but you definitely want to be able to not just be comfortable, you want to be safe. And that was my concern, was that I'm looking at you guys, what you're throwing on these packs. These are day packs that they're just
loading.
There's a picture, maybe Nick will be able to put it on there, of the three of them
I'll
before they
find
left. And it was like,
it looked like we just hopped off a train.
yeah.
This would be where you need your frame packs, am I correct?
Yes.
So
Well, and just a big pack that
or at least
you
a
properly
structured
put your
pack,
stuff.
yeah.
Like, my stuff was bungee corded on.
Yeah, every bungee cord that I had in my truck went onto there. They had more weight in bungee
And
cords than they did
ratchet
in
straps. Like, it was
Yeah.
not, and it like we were well aware that we did not have the right packs and equipment for this, but I also knew, I was like, we're not going to need more than a day over there.
Yeah.
Because I picked out the rock you could go sit next to, and there's 100 of them. Go by it every freaking day. So anyways, we get all this stuff, and I convinced Dad and Mom that we're going, and that they're going to let us go. And Dad had made some plan with me, like, here, if any of this happens, you do this. And then he gave me the GPS and showed me the button that if I needed a chopper,
Yeah.
and I like, we ain't hitting that button unless
That's an
someone's
expensive
about
button to
dead.
hit.
Yeah. So the three of us take off, and Bryce's pack had to have been 65 pounds. So it was me, Bryce, and Kyle. And Bryce is sometimes he can be kind of like Nick, where he's just kind of a knothead as far as, like, I'm just tough enough, I can do it. But he would.
Yeah,
And he'd hoof it, no problem. And so he would just get through, and then I had, I don't know, probably 50 pounds or something like that, and we have all these camera gear, and we had, like, the FS5, I think, still at that time, so
yeah.
big camera,
the FS7s,
all the
they're
batteries,
huge.
all this stuff. So
The batteries alone are like 2 pounds.
yeah, it was a journey. So we take off that morning, and we only make it in the first patch of timber where we hadn't been able to find elk for freaking days, and a bull rips off and starts bugling right there. So obviously I'm not going to walk past him. So we try him first when we needed to be going, because there was supposed to be rain possibly coming in that evening. And so now this elk slows us down. So it was his fault. And so we mess with this bull for a while, hour, 2 hours, something like that. Don't get anywhere, but
We tried.
Yeah. And so then we get to what we named it the monster.
Mm-hmm.
We get to the bottom of the monster, and the monster it's 1,000 feet. I just looked on Onyx to see. It's 1,000 feet vertical climb, and there's not really any other way to go about the monster other than just going up the monster, because you can't go down, because that's where it gets private, and if you go around, it's going to take you forever. So up the monster we go. We make it up the monster.
You didn't try to side hill up it or nothing?
Oh, yeah.
You go back and forth?
Somewhat, but it's like one of those where it's steep enough that
Yeah, we're probably
there ain't that
talking a
much to do.
60% grade or something
Yeah.
like. I mean, it ain't 90%. That's straight up, but it ain't 45 either. I mean, it's steep.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you fall down, you're gonna
Go away.
You're gonna roll down the hill, and there's no trees on it or anything. It's just a wide open grass hill,
yeah.
or mountain.
And so it's one of those, like, when you're walking up it, like, you're leaning with your
You
pack.
barely touch the ground.
Yeah, and you like count your steps. Like, okay, I'm gonna get to that rock right there, and the rock is like really like right in front of your face.
Yeah.
But you just try to make it to that rock, and then you make another one, and it wasn't honestly that bad. But so, anyways, several hours later, we get there, and we look around, we find a spot that we're gonna camp, and we can see the storm is coming. So all three of us are like kind of hustling now. And so we're really hustling, trying to get all of our stuff. And so we had all of our stuff laid out, just about to be able to get the tent up, and it just downpours. Like, it hadn't even, you've seen it out west where, like, it's still coming. It doesn't even get to you yet, but the rain's already hitting you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can still see the rest of it coming. And so you're going to get crushed for a while. And we got absolutely crushed. And so then there's three of us. It was just Bryce and I, and Kyle was trying to get everything else underneath. So we were just holding the tent tarp, trying to keep all of our stuff dry. and because we're like you're absolutely stuck there for the night now. And then and it rained on us for I think it was only like an hour or something, but it
What was the temperature?
actually it was longer than that because it was until
40s
dark
probably.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was like
during the
borderline.
day.
Right.
Yeah.
At night it got
that's kinda good.
colder.
Yeah, so that's what it was. So it rained long enough. Oh no, it didn't stop. That's what it was. Because it rained pretty much all night. So it rained so it downpoured on us, got all of our stuff soaked. And then what we managed to do is Bryce and I held up the tarp while Kyle started setting up the tent underneath it.
Yeah.
Which the tent was pretty soaked. Sleeping bags were like 65% soaked. All of our other stuff was drenched. And so then we finally get it all set up, and we all get in there and get our stuff in there. I remember we took, I think it was I think we took everybody's sleeping bags. Mine was mostly dry, and then Bryce's and Kyle's was like 50%. But we were able to open them all up and like flip them so that we only had the
Dry
side.
Right.
And so it was still raining on us, and I never really panicked. We had one member of the team that was quite panicked at one point and like wanted me to hit the button, and I was like, oh, no way, dude. Because there was even a house there, like if really, I mean, it's say right there, it was still like 3 miles away, but absolute worst case scenario, you could have just got up and started walking to that house. But anyways, so we made it, I don't know, a few hours into the night, and I had a little more fluff on me than those guys. And so I was actually doing pretty good. I was like, this ain't all that bad. It's a little wet, and then they started shivering, and like Bryce started like shivering bad. And I was like, oh no. And I was even a little cold because now since it rained, all of our stuff was soaked, and then it went down to like, I don't even know if it was 30. It might have been probably more like in the 20s. Mm-hmm. And so it's freaking cold. And then I'm getting a little cold, and I'm like, and those guys are shivering to the point now where I'm like, shit, this is like hypothermic. And so we still had our clothes on. So
we're wet.
We're wet, soaking wet. So then is what I was like, all right, boys, it's legit survival at this point. So there's nothing gay about it, but we gotta get stripped. So we stripped to our boxers, all of us, because our clothes are all soaked, and then we cuddled and all night. And Bryce and I had great spoon sesh, and I slept like a freaking baby. Poor Kyle was shivering all night long.
Was he on the outside?
He was
You
on
need
the
to put him
outside.
on the inside. He was the smallest one.
Little guy.
We tried.
wouldn't do it.
Kyle tried, and Bryce was like, no, I'm staying in the middle. And because Kyle was like, I think I should be in the middle. I was like, it probably makes sense. And Bryce was like, nope. Okay. And and then anyways, it was warm enough for me. Like I said, I got a little more fluff on me, so then I ended up sleeping great. And so I woke up like right at daylight, maybe a little before daylight, and that sucked. But I was like, everyone's alive, and I was kind of stoked because I heard elk bugling, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. So I wake up before those guys, and then I looked over too, and Kyle had, which I was like, oh, this sucker just screwed up my bow. He had the Trophy Ridge logo embedded into his skin because he'd been sleeping all night. It's a 3-man tent. They say it's a 3-man tent.
You can minus a person on any of those.
Yeah, and then all of our stuff had to be in it. So my bow is there, everything, and so he's got the Trophy Ridge logo. I mean, like, looked like a tattoo. So then, anyways, I get up before these guys, but then I grab my stuff. My pants are soaked. I was like, oh, this is gonna be terrible. But all I really wanted to do is we were like right on this peak. We camped like right up on the peak. I was like, I just want to go and peek over there and see if I can see these elk that I'm hearing, So I like did the whole, all right, 3, 2, 1, and then put on my pants because they're drenched, and put on my shirt, and so I'm all soaked. But then it wasn't as bad once I got them on, and so I go over there and I glance over the hill, and there's it was still like all foggy and soppy and stuff, and so the elk weren't really doing anything, but there's 100 elk bedded right there. And so at that point, Warren's like, worth it. And so I was like, okay, we're gonna gather all of our stuff up. We're gonna do like we do at camp. We built a little teepee thing, and we're going to dry out. We're gonna start a fire. We're gonna chill for a minute. I don't know how long it was going to take, but we'll start a fire, we'll dry all of our stuff, and then we're going to go kill an elk. And so I woke those guys up, and Bryce was like, how do I do this, man? He's like, my pants are soaked. So you just got to do it, you know? And so then he's like, okay. And so then he does it, Kyle does it. We make, and we all go get firewood and everything. I think Kyle started the fire, and while Bryce and I built ourselves, like, we just took pine limbs and made a little teepee with a tree, and then made a fire just like we do in camp.
Yeah.
And it was unbelievable. It was so warm that I remember I had to get out.
Yeah.
And it dried our stuff completely within an hour, like bone dry. It was unbelievable. So then everybody felt a lot better after that. Like, oh, hey, we got dry clothes and we're warm again and everything's nice. So fast forward, that's when we went through and ran into all these other guys. So that 100 elk, that's the one where I thought we were gonna, I was very, very confused because we had a bull coming and we were right underneath him. Wind was perfect and everything, and then he just disappeared, and like he'd like gotten to where it sounded like he was on top of us, and I'm pretty sure those other hunters, he smelled them or something. And then we kept going and ran into the next one, and ran into Pops and everybody else. And then that's when we said, okay, and so then I'm looking at the weather again, and that's what it was. There was supposed to be one more 24-hour window before more weather was supposed to come in. And then when I realized, okay, we're dealing with 6 other guys this is literally a mile by mile state piece. I mean, it's not very big, especially with us 9 dudes. I'm like, we're not going to go through all of this and then be dealing with 6 other guys. If it was just us on it, yeah, we would have, because no way we need more than 2 days and we would have killed an elk. And so then that's when I walked out in front of all the elk and blew the herd out. And so then we go get our stuff, now thinking it's not going to be that big of a deal, because I think we got back to the camp, and I called Dad.
I was going to say, I think I talked to you as you guys were starting to pack up.
Yeah, and that was the only place we had service.
But I was telling you guys
top.
that I'm seeing, like, the weather is coming. You guys need to start going now.
But it was supposed to be not till the next day.
No, it was supposed to be later that evening.
No, mine was, because I remember it was 0% chance. That's what I remember. It was 0%.
I wasn't where I was.
It was the next day it was supposed to come in.
Okay.
So we're at the top. I called Dad and let him know, hey, we're going to come out, and everything normal. We were expecting we were going to have to walk out some in the dark, but it was only going to be like probably an hour or two, something like that. Well, so we get all of our stuff packed up, get everything put together, and we start heading out. And, we make it to the top of the monster, and then all of a sudden there's like some flurries. And I was like, well, that's weird, because I checked the weather and said nothing. And then it starts flurrying on us, and then I was like, it's not going to be a big deal. It won't be that much. Then it starts snowing really hard, and then we make it like right about to peek over the monster, and it's an absolute whiteout. Like I couldn't hardly see from me to you. Complete blizzard. And so somehow the 3 of us managed to make it down to the bottom of the monster, and then there was one thing of power lines that went over, and that was one of my landmarks to know where I needed to go. So we made it to the bottom of the monster, and now I can't. Basically, when you get to the bottom of the monster, there's like the drainage went west and it went north, and it went south too, but I needed to go west, and that would take us to to a saddle where the power lines were. The north would take you down into a whole nother drainage that would shoot you out wherever. And so we're at the bottom, and now I don't really know where we're at. I just know we're at the bottom of the monster, and I need the GPS to try to figure out where to go now. So we pull out the GPS, and I shit you not, like in the movies, it like turns on for a half a second and dies.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you got to be kidding me. And it had a full battery when we left. So
those things normally last forever.
If it got left on or something, though, then it drained it.
So, and I can't see anything. Bryce and them don't know either. One of them wanted to just start walking. I was like, I've been through our camps enough time to know we're not doing that. Like, it may really, really suck, but we're not going to die if we have to, we'll just set up right
tent
here.
Back up, get in, and hold tight.
Yep, and it's going to suck, but we're going to live. We'll be fine. Where if we just walk, who knows where the hell we're going to end up. And so now, but we're obviously trying to fix the GPS situation first. So we managed to find the GPS, got the GPS, and then it's not working. So then we were like, okay, well, now what do we do? And then we thought about, we have batteries for the mics. So then we went through the camera, but of course that stuff's all packed up. So then we got the batteries from the mics, put them in, and it worked, thank God, because we were heading north. We were going to end up in the canyon and nowhere near where we needed to be. And so then I'm having to watch the GPS every step to see where we need to get to. And so we're probably, I don't know, 2 hours past when we told you we expected, which I think Dad had enough experience that he knew that was not necessarily that we were hurt or anything, but that we're stuck in a blizzard and it's kind of a problem now.
Yeah.
And so I just really wanted to make it to the top of that saddle, because if we make it to the top of that saddle, then we could kind of see in the right direction if it decided to stop at all. And so we kept going, and we finally make it to that top of that saddle, and Mom was with us too. So Mom was, I'm sure, according to Dad, Mom was freaking out,
Oh yeah.
Because this is the situations where people do get caught in and die or get seriously hurt. So we finally make it to the top of the saddle, and then I see headlights, and I just see lights flashing. And so Dad, I don't know if you kept doing that on your own, or you'd seen us.
I finally, somewhere in there was enough break in the snow. We're probably, I'm going to say it's still a mile and a half from where you guys are when you top the hill on that saddle, from where Karen and I are sitting in a truck as close as we can get.
Yep.
And once I saw the light up there, then I was like, okay, there's a chance they could see headlights to know that, because otherwise you're just looking at snow, or at Green Mountain. You can't tell what it is in this kind of weather. So I started blinking my lights. Karen's like, what are you doing that for? I'm like, well, it'll tell them that there is something, that there's a vehicle here, and Warren's got to know it's us. There's no one else that's going to be out in the middle of nowhere doing this. And she was like, well, whatever. I hope you're right. And then so I kept blinking the lights, and then I saw you guys blinked back, kind of covered your lights, and I'm like, okay, they see us. And then I could see the lights starting to come down the hill.
Yeah, and that was unbelievably helpful, because we couldn't see anything. So then being able to just walk towards Dad's light was so helpful. And so then anyways, long story short, we made it back, and that was probably the best bowl of chili I've ever had in my entire life. I still remember how it tasted. Mom was not very happy about it. And it was a bit of but like somebody in one of the comments said, they said that it may have been rough stories, but it sounds like it made good memories. And that's one of the best stories that I have all the time. People always love that one. And at the time it was, well, I guess now it probably wasn't all that bright either, but it makes a great story.
Well,
if you don't do that kind of stuff, though, not that you should be going to do a lot of stupid things, but making those mistakes or living life at, I'm going to do what I want to do, or kind of send it. What do you got to look back on when you get to the end of it if you haven't had things like that, or you've just lived at the safe zone for your whole life? That's boring.
Well, that one too really helps me with when we teach kids. Donnie's always has me do that one at camp.
Yeah. And
it really, really helps me get it through to them, because
everybody thinks that nobody. When it's summertime and they're sitting there, it's 90 degrees, and you're telling the kid, if you don't have water, if you don't have food, if you don't have a light, if you don't have extra batteries, this is the kind of stuff that starts a snowball effect. Pardon the pun, but starts a snowball effect that all of a sudden now people start to panic, and once you panic, it's over, man.
Yeah.
That's what you cannot do. And you guys have been pretty fortunate that Mom and I have done some things that we're probably not maybe the smartest thing, probably more so me, and drug Mom along, but at the same time, I never did anything that I thought was intentionally going to be really risky. Most of the time, I drove through some water one time with Mom that I probably shouldn't have drove through. It was over the hood of the truck, but I didn't know it was going to be over the hood of the truck.
And that makes it all right.
Yeah, I mean, at that moment, you want to back out, but you can't. You got to send it, because you got to get to the other side.
Yeah.
So things like that.
They make it worse too.
Oh yeah.
The one time.
Oh, they make it more stressful.
One time I was driving the mule with Alyssa.
Yeah.
We first started dating, and there's a little limb on the tree. And she's like, "Oh, you need to go around that. You need to go around that." And the farmer's got his field planted, so I don't want to go over there. And then now she's just annoyed me, so I want to show her, no, it's fine. It's just going to break. I'm like, no, it'll be fine. And so I just kept going right through the windshield.
I remember that. Yeah.
I get back, and Dad's like, "What'd you do to my mule?"
Oh, yeah. It was like that big around right through the
I
hole.
remember that. I
Yeah.
didn't know that was you being stubborn.
And of course, yeah. And so then she's like, "I tried to tell him."
Yeah.
So,
You won't
but
live
yeah,
that
so
down.
there's stuff. Going back to that story, though, there was a happy ending. And the happy ending, one thing is you guys take off the very first day you guys leave. We go back to where you guys are talking about the bull that you saw, you know, that you ran into going over. Mom and I went and hunted that patch of timber because, but I've given them everything, all my packs, Mom's pack. I mean, we have a day pack. Well, lo and behold, Mom and I get in there, and now there's not 5 of us tromping around in there, and we're just making a call here and there and just ease through there. And she gets a shot at a spike bull and kills it. And so we kill an elk on the very first day that they're gone. And I'm like, now we got to get this thing out of here with these day packs. This is not going to be good. And so we packed up luckily it was a spike. It wasn't that big, but we you had to quarter everything out in order to fit it all. And it took us 3 trips to get it. And that's the only reason though, that we were able to talk to you. Because we had no service at the cabin where we were staying, but we got her elk down, and now our clothes were all bloody. We had blood all over us and everything. So we ran to town, White Sulphur, and about 45 minutes away. And as you go to town, there's some places where you hit service. And so that's when I tried Warren and got a hold of him. And that eased Mom at least to talk to you and say, because you guys have been gone about a day and a half now, or 30 hours or something like that. And she's like, okay, they're alive. Because we're looking at the weather, and the weather down where we are is telling us this is not going to get any better. It's getting ready to get way worse. And so then she was like, okay, how can we help them? Or what are you going to do? Because now it's, Dad, go fix this, and I'm like, the best I can do is this. Me going up to look for them is not going to work. And we're just going to make it where,
You have 2 groups.
Yep. And I said, if they're not here by in the morning, if we don't hear from them, I know Warren will have put up the tent, and as long as they stay put, I roughly know where they're at. We can get a search and rescue team in here and go get them. But we can't do anything till tomorrow morning unless we can spot them tonight. And that's what we did.
Yeah. That's where it is. I can explain to those kids the thing, like they think stop is probably the stupidest thing, which is in that book, their acronym: stop, think, observe, plan.
Yep.
And it's not. It could literally save your life. But here too, it's hard for Iowa kids, because here I tell them, it tells them to do all this stuff in the book, and I tell them, look, if you guys, if you get lost here in Iowa,
just walk
a straight line,
and you'll find
for
a house.
30 minutes. You're gonna hit a road or a house, and if you can't figure it out from there, then
unless you're Kane Brown, and he has to call in the
oh
rescue.
my god,
that or you're gonna hit a river, and if you follow a river, it's gonna take you to a major city or it's town or something, or a road where there's a bridge. Get to a main road, then you might. I'm not saying that you couldn't end up with a long walk, but you shouldn't have you shouldn't be completely
There
lost.
also isn't much
Right.
for weather in Iowa that I've seen that would be deathly.
Oh, the winter time. But most people aren't out in like what we had a week ago, where it was -20 wind chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, you ain't gonna make it very long in that.
No, that would suck.
So, yeah. But anyhow, so that's it's funny because do we have time for another one?
I think so.
Because I don't think that this
As long
is.
as it's not like a 30-minute
No,
one.
I just think that it's worth. I actually have 2, so I don't know which one to tell. Either the one where I run into the mountain lions or the one where I run into the bear.
Wasn't it the same day?
No.
No, 2 totally
different
ones.
places.
One's on a 4-wheeler, one's on a bike.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely the 4-wheeler one.
Yeah, that one is.
Okay. You talk about a worst hunting trip.
Yeah, that's pretty
And-
rough.
It was only 5 miles away from
Yeah,
home.
this is only for the afternoon. This isn't a packed in and so Mom and I don't remember what we were arguing about, but we were not getting along.
This is in Olney, Montana.
Olney, Montana. We have
northwest corner, as far as you can get.
Yeah, we're 30 miles from the Canadian border.
We said
Huh?
Hey.
We were so close to Canada, we said We just didn't get quite to the A.
So anyhow, we're not getting along. So I tell her I'm going to go bear hunting, and that's my way of getting out of the argument. And so I normally get on my Trail 90. We had 2 of them, and I ride my little Trail 90 because it'll get me anywhere.
Yep, which he would send East and I to go get the mail on through the
Yes.
same type of country,
Yep.
6 miles, or to get to the bus stop.
Well, believe it or not,
Smart
you
job,
guys,
Dad.
But
Yep.
believe it or not, you guys asked to go a lot.
Well, it was fun.
Yeah. So anyhow, but for whatever reason that day, I did not take the Trail 90. I decided to get on the 4-wheeler. So I got a pack. I throw my pack on the back rack, and I head up the mountain. Well, the way, if anyone's not familiar with Montana, you'll get a lot of times where high level is snow, low level there's not. There was no snow down at our house, maybe a little bit on the ground, but night. And so I was trying to get to that area where I thought it was just enough snow that I could track a bear. I could track a black bear. And so anyhow, I drive up the mountain. Well, I get up there, and then all of a sudden it's just snowed in. There's no, like, I'm not getting through anywhere. There's the snow's so deep, the bears aren't going to be out up here. Well, I run into Warren's buddy, and he came from a different direction, and he's in his little Toyota pickup truck, and he says the same. Me and him have a little discussion. Kylie. Yeah, he was up there, and so me and him talk about it, and I was like, yeah, I'm going back. He said, me too. And so it's like.
That freaking Tacoma went everywhere.
Oh, yeah, he took it everywhere.
I can't believe that.
But we went.
Almost hit a moose in that thing.
I know, I remember that.
Well, we went opposite directions. He went along the top of the mountain, and I just started back down. Same road I'd just come up, but I'd been gone. I'd come up the road an hour ago. So I start down the road. Well, it's just a switchback Forest Service road. You're just going back and forth, and I wasn't going very fast. You know, I might see a bear, who knows, whatever. But lo and behold, I come around a corner, and at this point in my life, I've never seen a grizzly in the wild. I'd seen other than Yellowstone.
That's not true.
Yeah, you'd seen several
Dude,
at that point.
what are you
Not
talking
at that
about?
point.
Yes, you had. We had gone bear hunting multiple times.
Not yet.
Yes.
I'm telling you, they were after that, dude. That was the very first
we had
one.
multiple.
At Graves Creek?
Mm-hmm. Those were after this. All those that we ran into were after that. That was the first one. That's the first grizzly bear I had ever seen in the wild, other than I'd seen one or two at Yellowstone.
I don't think so.
And up on Glacier. We saw them over at Glacier. Yeah, I promise you.
No,
that
we
was
have
the,
Kylie
'cause
before that
that's
too,
not
and that's
true.
when we had the grizzly
That's
come
not
out
true,
at 20
'cause
yards.
We also saw the 2 grizzlies
Down-
and the
Wyoming.
that's after
5
that.
wolves.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't after that. I
Yeah.
was like, no, I was 12.
No.
Yeah,
Well, okay.
because you were like,
Your
gonna
memory
take
ain't
me,
serving you,
Well,
Paul.
may-
and
maybe
I
it
was like,
was-
I'm not going.
Maybe I'd never seen one
it doesn't
while
matter.
hunting.
It's still scary.
While
as
I
crap.
was hunting. So anyhow, I come around the corner though, and just to kind of give someone an idea, I'm driving to my right, and the road bends back to the left. And when it bends back to the left and I come around the corner, now it's a straight shot for probably 200 or 300 yards. I can see the whole road. And right in the middle of the road is a sow grizzly standing on her hind legs, maybe 100, 150 yards away. And she is looking around, and there's 2 cubs. And I just remembered that one was bigger than the other. I noticed that the moment I saw them for whatever reason, but they're like freaking. They're like 2 little puppies that don't know what's going on. And she sees me, and the moment she sees me, she doesn't hesitate. She hits all 4s, and here she comes. And I'm sitting on the 4-wheeler looking at her, and I'm like, I don't know what I got to do, but I got to make a decision here like now. I don't have time. She's like the best way I could describe this was Lion King. If you ever saw the movie Lion King and you see the lion running and their mane is blowing in the wind, her ears were pinned back and she was coming. And I was like, okay, go at her. And so that's what I did. I just said, okay, but I had already decided. I pulled.
Why not back up?
There's no time. I didn't think I would have time to get like backed up and turn around. So I just start going at her. As I start going at her, I moved to the middle of the road, but I had already determined I'm going left. I just all that came to my head. Just get in the middle of the road, and then when you get right to her, go left. So we're basically playing chicken. She's running. I'm coming right at her. I probably got up to maybe 20 miles an hour because it was that close. And right as we about got to each other, I went left, and luckily she did too, so she went the opposite direction. Well, when she went the opposite direction, I watched. It's really thick. If you've never been in the northwest corner of Montana, the timber is firs and pines, and it's just dense. So I just see her ass go into the timber and disappear. And I'm like, holy crap, that was close. And so I'm on the throttle, and I'm going down the road, and I'm probably 10 seconds after passing her, and I'm like, holy cow, and so I just did the thing, what you would do, I kind of like turned to look. I'm looking way back thinking I'm going to see her 150 yards behind me. And I look, and the bear is like 20 yards behind me and closing because I wasn't going fast enough. And I didn't know I needed to be going that fast that she was coming. And I'm like, what the frick? This bear is chasing the four-wheeler. So I get on the throttle and I start going. As I'm going, I look back and she just keeps coming. And I'm like, this is nuts. No one's going to believe this. And I had a pistol and I had bear spray. But I also had one of my little video cameras. And I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to reach in my pack, and I'm going to film this bear chasing this four-wheeler because no one's going to believe this. Because I'm 50 yards in front of her now. But I'm running the throttle with my right hand. I got to reach over with my left hand to hit it and reach in the pack because it's all behind me. And I'm trying to reach in the pack, and I would miss the throttle. When you lose the throttle, you lose all power. It just quits. And so she'd gain on me. So I tried for a few seconds, and I was like, that ain't happening. I ain't filming the bear. So I keep going.
That freaking sucks. That would be insane.
Warren would have looked like 50 Cent.
Yeah,
I'd have had the pistol. Die, bitch.
So the thing that kept going on, this goes on for like 15 or 20 seconds, which is a long time. I was like, why is she still chasing me? And she's coming and coming. And then about the time that I finally am thinking that, she turns right and goes in the timber. And I was like, all right, thank God. That was nuts. And right then, I look in front of me, and the road makes a switchback. And I'm like, this freaking bear can't know that I've got to make a turn, and she's cutting me off. But that's what it seems like. Enough that now I did get off the throttle, hit the brake, and stopped. But I'm terrified when I'm stopped because I can't see more than 15 yards into the timber. If she comes out at the speed she was, it's over. So I'm like, what do I do? Put it in reverse and turn around. So I put it in reverse. I start to back up, and I was like, I don't want to be in reverse. And even the sound of the four-wheeler made me think I'm like attracting her now. So I slammed it back into high, and I said, just go around the corner as fast as you freaking can. In case she's standing in the middle of the road, you're going right around her. So I got leaning as hard as I could and gunned it and went around that curve, and she wasn't there. And I was like, oh, thank God. Well, then I get maybe 50 yards down that part, and I look up and I see her and the two cubs, and now they're running up the hill. And I was like, all right, this is crazy. Well, I get back down to the house, which the house is only maybe a mile and a half. I think it was like a mile and a half from where this happened. I had gone about 4 or 5 miles up the road. But I get back down to the house, and I pull in. I don't say one word to these guys. I just pull up on the four-wheeler, and they come out Karen comes out on the porch. For sure, I remember her just going, what's wrong with you? And I was like, what are you talking about? And it must be how you look after you've had the crap scared out of you, because
you'll lose all the blood in your face.
I guess, but she was like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, well, I did just get chased by a grizzly. So what? And then lo and behold, I had no idea. I had a trail camera set up on a logging road.
We didn't believe you either.
Yeah.
I mean, like maybe 60%. And so then
I believed it.
I didn't.
Terrifying. I was like, why would you make that up?
That's when we then drove up there, and you could see the tracks, and you could see where she stopped and slid and turned.
And we checked the trail camera.
Well, then I had a trail camera about a half a mile from where this all happened. But this is about a week or 10 days later. I'm not really thinking of that. And I go check the trail camera, and it's on a logging road. And anyhow, I come home and I slip the card in the computer. And as I put it in there, pictures are coming up. And like the very first picture is this freaking big head, this grizzly bear. I've never gotten a picture of a grizzly bear on my trail camera and I'm like, what the heck? Mom happens to be walking by at the time. And sees it. She's like, what are you doing? And I was like, what? She says, that's a grizzly bear. And I was like, yeah. She says, you need to go get that camera and get it out of there. And I was like, you go get that camera. Because it was terrifying sitting there and
three total
well,
on
it turned out to be 3 different adult ones, but it was the same one that had chased me because there were the 2 cubs and they were different size.
We have the pictures of it. Nick will put them on the screen. This thing is freaking wild.
Yep.
And if you want to imagine what it was like when you pull around a corner and you see this bear, we have the exact picture for you to look at because this freaking same sow is standing in front of the camera with her cubs, and her claws are huge. Like this is the picture you will see when you imagine when he's talking about it. He pulls around the corner, and this is what he sees.
Yeah, so there you go. That was one of the worst hunts I've ever had, and it never even got to really start.
It was wild because we would go every time with you.
Yes.
Every single time. And I think that was literally the first time we had not gone with you. and that happened.
Well, the time
And then
when,
every time
when
after that was we only saw grizzlies.
I look back at the one where we took Kylie and you and Warren and me, and we all walked over the mountain and ran into the grizzly there.
That one was scarier for a federal offense.
That we almost shot the grizzly, but no, it was scarier because we ended up going so far we couldn't go back.
And we had to walk right by it.
Yeah, we had to go where that bear was, but
The one that we that popped out, right?
yes,
Yeah, but that one wasn't huge.
To give
wasn't
people a little context, we were tracking a black bear and ran out of snow. And from where we'd parked originally, by the time that we got to this, it was a long ways away. Fortunately, I think we had a little bit of service to call Mom. We ended up going like 9 miles. So it would have been 18 miles to try to make it all the way back to the truck. There was another road that we were able to go to. My buddy Kylie had his rifle, Dad had his bow, and then East and I were just along for the ride and filming. And so when we're going on a logging road, and like Dad's talking about, I mean, you can't see 5 yards into most of this stuff.
timber's thick.
We come around a corner, and there's a bear in the logging road. Dad's telling
I say
him,
shoot
it, Kylie, shoot it. And it's like 100. And I was like, no. Because when I was looking through binos, I don't know if I was looking through binos or if I just saw it, but I could tell it was a grizz.
Was I filming then? Because we have video of this.
No, we don't have video of it. I don't think.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we didn't have any video then.
Oh, I would almost.
Because it was only there a few seconds.
And I knew it was a grizz. I was like, no. And then if you shoot a grizz, it's a federal offense, unless it's charging you.
In your guys' defense, this, from what I remember, he was about the size of a black bear.
That was a
and it was
smaller
a very
grizzly,
light
probably 2-year-old.
color phase.
Well, he was turned to us,
so you couldn't see the hump.
where it was harder to see. Yeah, and
he
I
really
could
did
see,
not look like a grizzly when you looked right at him.
I think he did because I knew. Like
I was just saying. As soon as Warren said that, I was like, "Yeah, wait," because Kylie's on one knee.
You pulled up your binos, and then you're like, "Oh yeah, no,
don't shoot. It's a grizzly bear." Because Kylie's on one knee with his rifle. Because the whole reason that he brought his rifle was if I couldn't get close to the black bear with my bow, then he would have shot it with his rifle.
Yeah.
So he sees bear. I'm going shoot, and he drops to one knee to try to shoot, But Warren's going, no, and then I'm like, wait, and we realize it's a grizzly, but it takes off. That one runs, gets away from us.
Which you still had to go walk by it.
Yeah, we had to go.
That's what I hated about that place is you just never. I don't know why I wanted to know my death was coming instead of just getting smacked.
They're not all that crazy.
They are. Those things are freaking possessed, and they're unbelievably
they're angry,
athletic.
aggressive, but like
the lower 48 ones.
Dad's is ridiculous. That is
even Shockey. I think it was Shockey that was talking about it. Shockey, Eastman. There's lots of guys that tell you that the lower 48 grizzlies are nothing like the Alaskan ones and everything.
Way
they would
pissier.
way rather run into a brown bear or a Kodiak grizzly than they would a lower 48 grizz.
I wonder why that is.
Because they don't get
They
shot.
get shot
here.
at. They have no fear of us. That's what I don't like about them. Is their attitude is that they are not lower on the food chain. They are the highest, and you are definitely not higher.
Yeah, that's true.
And where every other animal that we hunt or we're around has that, I'm gonna get away from here. Occasionally a mountain lion gets cornered or something, or they've attacked a person or two or whatever. Even all the wolves that are out there, I don't know of anyone getting attacked by wolves.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but I haven't. It's not as common as there's been lots of grizzly attacks and lots of people killed by grizzlies. They just don't have a fear. So. Anyhow, I'm kind of glad we moved. I never used to hunt places. I kind of avoided those areas to hunt for elk because you would end up calling in grizzlies. And so I just avoided them. Well, now they're all over Montana. I don't know that there's any place that I elk hunt out there now that there isn't some form of grizzlies there. I mean, we're talking all the way out to the eastern side, all the way to Lewistown, yes.
They're
the bear tooth,
like back in the freaking prairies?
Yes.
Wow.
Guys are running into them pheasant hunting.
They need to be. They're a serious problem. They need to.
They were a big problem when we lived there, but I did not know that they were like back in prairie areas and stuff.
Yeah.
For anybody that didn't know,
look at
grizzlies did originate in prairies.
But look at where Waylon's whitetail hunting, and the bears are running underneath him.
In Great Falls?
No, he's east. He's east and north.
Which would be even less likely.
Yes. There's no trees. I mean, there's trees.
Is there grizzlies like where we used to have, where you killed MJ?
They've been through there.
They've been through there now, yeah.
What the drug?
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
So, all right.
But they need to do something with that. Well, I guess this tells us, if you guys are that interested in some of these, that when we get bored, because we do have more
Oh yeah,
stories in general, maybe not necessarily the worst hunts, but like there's a couple others that are that are pretty interesting. So if we get bored or losing on a podcast topic, I guess we have something to fill in with. So
Unfortunately,
while,
yes.
While Warren is doing that, if you guys see or watching this, we do have new raised hunting beanies. And, of course, if you guys go get them, you get a discount because we like you more than we like everybody else. And that is, I believe, RHP Crew 15. I have it written down. Nick will put it in the comments below, as well as if you don't see sweatshirts right now that are on the website and you wanted one, I do have more ordered. They just aren't in yet. So, but definitely check out. We got 3 different colors of the beanies. They're ready to roll.
The beanies are awesome. All right, you find one?
I did.
All right. Something tells me this is going to be so far off the wall.
It's going to be about a grizzly.
Ready? No. Indian Americans own about half of the economy lodging properties in the U.S., with many of these proprietors having the last name Patel. That's the most... That is exactly what you would think.
What?
That they're all Indian people and they all have the same last name. I bet you gas stations is probably in there too.
7-Eleven specifically. I'll do that just because it's interesting that many of them own that specific of an industry.
And that their names are all the same.
Lodging.
Here's another one that this shows you how out of touch some companies are. A Spanish civil servant skipped work for 6 years but continued to receive his salary. He was only discovered when he was set to receive an award for his time of service.
How in the world?
That's how well governments are run.
What government?
That would have been the Spanish civil servant. Yeah, it's been Spain.
Oh my! What's a civil servant do?
I mean, like it's a government employee.
Paid by the government.
Oh, really?
Yeah, firefighters are civil
Oh.
servants. Cops are civil servants.
I didn't know that was that general.
This one's kind of cool too. BMW set the world record for the longest water-assisted drift, covering 232.5 miles. During the attempt, they performed mid-drift refueling 5 times and also broke the record for the longest twin vehicle drift.
That's insane.
I don't understand.
They're
200 and
drift-
some. I know what you.
They go in a circle.
Yeah,
Oh, so they covered 200.
But what I don't
And
get is
then-
how they refuel
like that.
while they're drifting.
The other guy drifted next to him and was, I guess, is so good at it that they were able to fuel the freaking car.
That is how you get Fast and Furious scenes, right there. That's how they did it.
What is the point in that?
I could do
It's
it.
a world
I
record,
could
bro.
Do it with a golf
Same
cart.
reason there's the longest fart in the world record book. That's a thing.
I could do it with a golf cart, but
Yeah, but it'd have to be specifically on some good green golf course grass.
Yeah,
yeah, like
preferably the Masters.
yeah, that stuff's the best for it.
Yeah.
It's bad.
We got
All
a better
right.
one in Florida.
Are
to
we
do
good?
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in. For those of you driving, drive safe. We appreciate you guys. Hopefully, we've made the ride to work or wherever you're going a little bit better. Again, check out our website. We got dog products on there. We got Knox on there. We got Raised Scents on there, and all this new apparel and things like that. So, appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for the reviews, and we'll see you next week.